Hi, my name is Newell Davis with World Composting, and we are going to do an update of our hardwood pellet bin and see how it's going. I've been adding food to it, I've been monitoring the moisture, I haven't been digging in it a whole lot since the last time I did this, so it's been basically top feedings with maybe a little bit mixed in, but most of it's just been on top. So let's take a look at the bin and see how it's doing compared to how some of my other bins might have been at this point. So let's come down here and take a look. Alright, so here's our bin right here. So very moist on the top. I've had it covered lately because it was starting to dry out a bit, but a little bit dry over here and wet all everywhere else. So let's take this off, put it to the side. And we've got some mold in here. This is, a white fuzzy mold. I'm going to be very careful. I don't want to send spores into the air. But lots of worms here in the center. This is where I threw in, what was this? I guess this was probably, if you notice right here, this was a food that went through my food juicer. Couldn't think of the name of it there. But my juicer that I have, so coffee grounds, obviously I throw in a lot of coffee grounds, if you can tell. I have coffee every day, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to try to turn over a little bit of this mold here. This is fine to have in your bin, by the way. It's not a big deal. It happens. So we're going to just check here, look at all the worms that are in here underneath this pile. So they're going after these, all this food that's here right now. They're all through here, if you can't tell. So they're doing pretty well. Let's just see how the rest of the bin is. Not seeing many worms anywhere else, but it is a good consistency. It's a little dry, probably a little bit on the dry side, but it's not too bad. I mean, like, I probably could not squeeze out a handful of moisture, like get a drop or two out of water if I wanted to, but it's not, like, this corner's a little bit dry over here, but it's not overly dry to the point of, like, they're leaving the bin or anything like that. And it feels nice and moist down here. I mean, this all feels pretty moist. So there we go. There's some worms down here eating something down here. So I think what we're going to do here is I'm not going to add any more food. I'm going to let them finish off what's in here. It's a little dry at the bottom, so this bottom section is still dry, which means that there's air getting down here. I'm not going to wet it this time. I'm going to let the worms move around to where they want in the bin. We're going to just slowly let this kind of move around and this paper and coffee grounds, and when I say paper I mean the filter paper for the coffee grounds here, not paper itself, and let stuff like this just sort of be. Kind of bury it in a little bit maybe here. Actually, maybe we'll spray this down a little bit. It's a little bit dry. Just get it a little bit more wet again. It's interesting that this is very different than a lot of the other bins. The water seems to go right to the top here, because of the somebody mentioned it probably has a wicking action where it's moving up instead of down. So what's happening is some of the moisture is coming to the top instead of soaking down to the bottom, and when doing so, it's ending up on the lid. So it looks like it's plenty moist, but really it's a little dry. It's not overly dry. It's not like, as I said, it's not like it's worms are leaving like in droves because of how dry it is, but it could stand to be a little bit more moist, I think, in here as far as moisture content. So I'm just going to spread these out on top here, see if maybe this paper on here can kind of hold in some of this moisture. Overall, it is working, but they are not spread out through the bin. They're basically right where the food is. If I threw in some more food in here, and actually I could do that, but I'll probably wait a little bit till this ball of stuff here is gone. If I threw in more food, they'd probably only congregate towards that food. I have to say, they are working through food in here a lot quicker, but I notice they're not really eating this sawdust here, or, consuming their bedding nearly as rapidly as, like, paper, it feels like. I mean, I've already been running this bin for over a month. Usually the paper's been somewhat eaten. This stuff just seems like it's still there, and then, has a little bit of darkness to it, but that's only because of the coffee grounds, really, I think. I don't think it's because of the bin itself. So this might be a good bedding for those that are trying to really consume food scraps more so than paper. This might actually be a decent bedding for that. We'll see how it goes over the long term. I'm very curious if this will turn to, stay this consistency, or if it'll turn more of a compost, or if it'll just kind of stay like this. I don't know. So we'll see. So that's my update for this week, as I'm just kind of poking around in here, seeing if there's anything else that I notice. I'm not really seeing anything. Some worms every once in a while I'm finding, but all of them are almost in the center. So there we go. Here's a worm over here. Kind of a big one too. These, I have to say, I mean, like, these are my standard red red wrigglers. Let me see if I can talk here. And I mean, that's a little bit bigger than normal, I think, for the ones I normally find in my bins. So that's my update for this week. Thank you very much for watching, and please like and subscribe to my videos.